Retirement today can last 30 years or more. That means there's a lot of financial decisions with a lot of long-term impacts that someone has to make as they're going through retirement. One of the biggest decisions that people have to make is what they want to do around their housing. Do they want to stay in the current house that maybe they've owned for a long time? Do they want to downsize to a smaller house that seems more appropriate? Or do they maybe want to relocate to a warmer state or someplace that maybe seems to have better tax advantages? These are common questions that we get all the time. But these questions actually go far deeper than just simple real estate questions, and they go far deeper than the headline numbers of what I could buy or sell for. Instead, these decisions need to be integrated as part of a broader financial plan to make sure that they fit across your entire retirement income, tax, and long-term strategy. So let's talk about each of those. Let's talk about retirement income and the impact that changing your house could have. Let's talk about taxes. Let's talk about just the stability that you can plan on in retirement and how each of those different options may come into play. First, let's talk about staying put. And many times staying put in the current house is maybe the most comfortable decision. There's probably many times also an emotional attachment to the current house that may be where you raised your kids and you've maybe lived there for a decade or two. Staying put can many times have some positive financial benefits. Property taxes are likely low as there's typically state caps on how much they can go up each year. Property taxes are probably much lower than they would be if you bought a similarly priced house today. Your mortgage rate, especially if you were able to refinance in 2020 or 2021, may be much, much lower, maybe less than half of what current mortgage rates are today. However, things like your insurance may be much higher than they would be if you had a smaller house. Maintenance may be higher, and the upkeep, just to keep up your house, may take up a lot more physical and emotional energy than you want to. And so staying put is a difficult decision sometimes. There's many financial benefits that many times point to being able to stay put. However, there's a lot of emotional and physical benefits to maybe choosing to downsize. And so making sure that we project out, could you stay in this house? Could you spend money? And maybe could you hire additional service providers to help offset some of the work? And what does that do to your budget to allow you to stay put is an important consideration. Along with that, a common question that we get is, should I pay down my mortgage? And that's a difficult conversation to have sometimes because it depends on a lot of different variables. It depends on interest rates, income tax brackets, current interest rates today. But many times if people have a mortgage rate below 4%, they may be better off keeping the flexibility of holding cash and giving themselves additional tax and retirement income flexibility. Sometimes though, when people talk about getting rid of mortgage, they think of the second option, which is downsizing. And many times people want us to build in downsizing into their retirement plans because it just seems like the reasonable and normal thing to do. You no longer need a big house that can house a huge family. Now it's maybe just you and your spouse. You should be able to move to a smaller house and save a bunch of money. However, in our experience, when our clients have done this, there's been a couple of things that have actually increased some costs. First, many times when you downsize and move into a newer home, you may have things like HOA fees, especially if you're moving into a condo. Homeowners association fees act basically like a mortgage, except for the fact that they typically go up a little bit with inflation each year. Also, many times people are surprised at their real estate tax bill. We've had people downsize into cheaper homes and actually have higher real estate bills due to how the state tax caps work. And so while you may save some expenses and maybe even get rid of a mortgage, many times the expenses just look a little differently. They just come in different areas that maybe you weren't experiencing before. However, one of the big benefits of downsizing many times is that you free up some equity from your previous house. This freed up equity gives you a lot of flexibility. And many times that freed up equity can come through tax-free. Under current tax code, a married filing jointly couple can exclude the first $500,000 of gain on their home sale if they've lived in it for at least 2 years. And so that can create tax-free cash that you can use then to create income and gain flexibility. You can also use it to maybe move from having a small mortgage payment to no mortgage payment if you save money. But again, we got to run the numbers and make sure that things like HOA fees and higher real estate taxes don't negatively impact where it makes downsizing not worth it anymore. The third option that we hear quite a bit about is relocating. I'm based in Michigan, and so there's a lot of times that retirees want to move to a warmer climate for a longer period of time, and so they might spend 7, 8, 9 months down in Florida. And Florida is a very typical one that we get asked about too, because Florida has this great sounding headline that they don't have income taxes. So if I can move from one state that has income tax rates and I can move to a state that doesn't have one, isn't that such an obvious win that I want to do that? Well, there's a couple things to consider about that. First is that in Michigan started to exempt a lot of retirement income. And so a lot of retirement income for retirees, especially those over the age of 65, now has very little Michigan taxation to it. Additionally, if you look at a lot of the states that have no income taxes, they get state revenue, they just get it from other ways that aren't quite so obvious. They may have higher real estate taxes. They may have higher sales taxes. And so we've got to look at the total tax impact and total tax outlay to be able to make an apples to apples comparison. Also, some of these warmer states typically have higher insurance costs, and the cost of living may also go up. And so this isn't as simple of a decision as what can I sell my house for? What can I buy one down there for? And then do I save income taxes? Many times there's many other variables that we've got to run into. So if you're a person who's looking at retiring in the next 5 years, or if you're currently retiring and considering what to do about your current housing situation, please reach out to me or one of our other certified financial planners here at Straight Path. We've helped hundreds of families make the exact same decision, and we help them balance the financial impact with the emotional impact to make sure that you set up your retirement plan for the best future.